Two. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. The Lord said, confession good for the soul. So right now,
all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. And shot call to be known with them niggas letting shots off. Either that or the right hand to the top dog. Funny how we see vanity, not the lives lost. Can't be focused on a life that's hopeless. Out there pumping, not knowing the Lord will kill you for that hocus pocus. Used to roll with niggas that cook dope with weaponry. Same ones claim they love you, I had no life in jeopardy. And I know my mother wants success for me, but that G should take a girl straight to ecstasy. Remember running with bruh, even though we did the wrong thing. My life would've been a lot different if I fell up under Rob's wing. Was too sincere for a wicked game. Shame the Lord's name, now we afflicted with pain. All I ever wanted was to be respected by stand-up niggas, not knowing that them handcuffs custom made to fit. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. I ain't lying, I was close to dying. Knew I wanted to live, but I wasn't trying. I was defiant, not knowing that this ain't how we live. This just how they design it. Cause when you in them streets, you get more endemic. They don't tell you gonna be on papers and on restrictions. My father said a hard head'll make a soft ass. I didn't care, I wanted fear when I walked past. In a place where a black man's blood is cheap, I thank the Lord for the day I was on Lake Street. Pissing in the cup, back and forth to court, from the DC school. I swear it felt like I cried on that fucking porch. The Lord said, my sheep, they ain't hear my voice. Asked me why I'm UPK, I told them I ain't have a choice. They said God ain't 50-50 and what's gonna come to pass. The Lord called me out the world and I started running fast. All I wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. Go ahead. All I wanted was to be a gangster. It's UPK until it hit the fam. I want power and a throne, nigga, fuck them grams.
Shalom, Israel. With ISUPK, start off 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, 1969. Established. Under Commander General Yohana, where we teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians make up the 12th tribe of Israel. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group. As a matter of fact, if you're not under the ISUPK, Commander General Yohana, you're simply not under the truth. And we got a topic tonight amidst all this violence and because what that the oppressors is doing, out there, Edomites, Moab, and all of the oppressors out here. Because we choosing the other nations, we choosing them. We out here voting, choosing them to be our nation's leaders, and we should just not march, not vote, not choose the other oppressors. That has caused our downfall. That has caused our destruction. And we in times past, our leaders warn us against. Of course, the Most High warn us against us. The Lord always sends a warning to let you know that you shouldn't choose the other nations. Choose none of His ways and choose none of that. As a matter of fact, it's not a choice for you to go and just grab the other nations and just say, okay, because I like this particular nation. That's because I like this particular president. The Most High never told you to choose presidents. Voting is a sin, really. The Most High appoints who He wants to lead Israel. We're not supposed to be out here toiling around trying to find all of the other nations' leaders and let them be our leader. That's on the ballot vote. Who is this one? Who is that one? And of course, that's just one thing. So, choosing other nations caused our downfall. Let's see, we have young man Dequan, and we have people in class here. I'll have young man Josiah and the camp leader and Officer Bond in class and some other people. And I'm Officer Kazak Shapar of 50 of Kamashim. We'll talk about that Friday in Elisha One Kodash class. But we're going to go over what the Most High really wants for us and how He doesn't want us to be part of allowing other nations to lead us. You're not even supposed to allow them to tell you, let me say this. Let me preface this. Of course, I'm not saying you can't obey some of the laws. I mean, you got to abide by the stop signs. You don't just go and run a light and say, I'm going to do what the Most High. No, we abide by the laws in the land as far as possible, Be at peace with all men as far as possible. That's what we do. But the Most High never told you to go out and say, okay, here is a leader that will cause us to be brought back. I mean, like I read the other week, we had one of the mayors and one of the pastors wanted to say something about, we're glad Joe Biden is in office trying to lead us. But the Bible says this, you should not let them lead you because they're going to cause you to go astray, You shouldn't vote for them because the Most High never told you to vote for them in the first place. And you shouldn't be out here, Black Lives Matter and all these other things. This stuff is calling us destruction on Israel because of us trying to be like the other nations, trying to choose them, trying to find out what they want, the Most High, we should be trying to appoint a king other than the Most High, really. If you really want to say it that way, of course, our leaders, the Most High will appoint leaders. He's appointed Commander General Yohana to lead the ISUPK, and that's the only nation that should be leading the Hebrew Israelites, the blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, and down the right path. Showing us what Yahweh would like us to do, showing us what Yahweh would like us to do. Commander General Yohana has that he's one leader, one man, and we'll get into that under the ISUPK. You know, we don't have 10 leaders. You know, we have, all of us are men that can lead, but in the same breath that you're talking about, we have one leader, and that's commanding General Yohana. All of the officers have understanding and knowing, you know, how to direct men and do this and that. But that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about we should, of course, we have our leader, and these other groups out here don't follow that policy. They choose anybody. They choose and tear up everything. But because we choose the other nations, and when you choose anything but the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana, you have actually chose your destruction under these other nations. I mean, you know, because they'll cause you to go astray. They'll cause us to be killed in the street. And Lamentations said that they hunt our steps, man. You know, all because we choose the other nations. Police brutality is being exposed now, of course, for what has gone on. We're accused falsely, all because we choosing these other nations to have a rulership over us. You know what you're doing, and in other words, if you obey the Lord's statutes and commandments, then their rulership shouldn't affect you. It wouldn't. If you obey the Lord's statutes and commandments, the Most High will come down here and pull us from this wicked nation down here in America. These people are so mean and destructive that they can sit on there for a person 9 minutes and 30 seconds on a person's neck and claim, oh, I was on the shoulder. You see how wicked some of these people are, man, all destruction of these nations here. But, you know, the Most High said, you know, we don't really have leaders that we can choose to be president. If we did, if it was somebody to be running for president, it should be one of our own, you know. This not Joe Biden or Barack Obama, or George Bush, and all of these people. These people will surely have a hand in our destruction. That's their game. Of course, they will cause us to go astray too. You know, give me Deuteronomy 7:4 there. Could you? Are you there, Trooper? If he's not, I'll go grab it right here. We'll find it in Deuteronomy 7:4 here. Okay. Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, the 4th verse. And this is what the Most High said when we were, let's see, we have Asha, Trooper Asha in class. Glad to have you, Trooper. And let's see, Yana Etheridge, glad to have you there, sis. You know, the Most High in the book of Deuteronomy, he says, when the Lord thy God, or Yahweh, shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations. The Most High has to cast those nations out, because if they don't, they'll cause you to go astray. And we'll read about that in a second here. But the Most High had to cast these nations out because he knew that they would not be any good for us. You know, the Hittites, I finished reading here, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. Okay, these nations are mightier, but the Lord, they're mightier than us, but the Lord said, listen, don't worry about it, I'm going to cast them out. It said, verse 2, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before you, the Most High is going to do that. I mean, that's what he did back in the days, in our days of ancient fathers here. Thou shalt smite them, utterly destroy them. The Most High don't want you to be around them, see? He wants you to separate from them. Thou shalt make no covenant. Don't make no promise with them. Don't make no covenant with them. Don't say, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because don't show no mercy unto them. The Most High is very specific. It said, don't miss marriages. A daughter, of course, we knew that. Nor thy daughter shall take unto thy son. It said, why? Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following you, that they may serve other gods. You see, the Most High doesn't want that. He didn't want us to serve other gods, because he was understanding. Because Samuel knew, you know, he understood, and we'll get into that in a second here, because we wanted to look at the other nations and let me finish reading here. Let me finish. Verse 6, let's go there. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. See, we're holy. So therefore, we shouldn't be part of the other nations, or they will surely destroy us. They surely take us out of our realm of understanding. Okay? Verse 6 here, thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God have chosen to be a special people, unto yourself. All people above the face of the earth. So the Most High didn't want us to be around there because it would cause our destruction if we were sitting here trying to choose these other nations. The Most High, it would cause us to go astray. That's why he didn't want us to be around him, And we shouldn't be electing them or appointing them as our king. If you go to verse, 14 here. I'm so lucky. Go to Deuteronomy 17th chapter, the 14th verse. We'll talk a little bit about that real quick before we go on here, trying to give you an understanding and background that we shouldn't be choosing these other nations because these nations will surely destroy you, man. They destroying us out on the street all day long anyway. And just check this out right here. And all the people shall hear and fear and do more presumptuously. Verse 14, and when thou art coming to a land, every time we come into land, even though we come to this land in slavery here in America, the Most High, all we had to do was just read our scriptures and find out. Most High, all we had to go back and find out what has happened to us in the past to understand how we should govern ourselves and according to these other nations around. You got to understand something. Israel was sitting here. And the Edomites below, you had Moab, you had Ammon, that's the Chinese, and then you had Japanese, Ammon, you had Syria over here, and all these other nations surrounding us when the Most High had put us in the Canaan land, when he brought us out of Egypt, And he was very meticulous about what he's saying. He said, look at it, I want you to stay away from this. Don't choose a king. Don't try to choose a king like these people chose. Let's see what it says right here, 17:14. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and thou shalt say, I will set a king over me, like all the other nations that are about me. That's what our leaders, that's what our people said. I'll read it again. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God hath given thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, this is what our people shall say. This is what our people did say. And this is what we shouldn't be doing nowadays also. Man, I'm going to set a king over me. And the Most High wants us to have judges anyway. We're going to find out who our real king is, who that is. And we'll ask the question here in a second here. I will set a king over me like all the other nations that are about me. Now, what does that mean? When we're sitting up here and the land that we've been given and all these other nations have all these kings, okay? And we looked in and we spied, of course, and said, man, I want to be, these kings must be Tawab, they must be good, they must be something to have, and it was just the opposite. The Most High didn't want you to have those kings. I will set a king over me like all the nations that are about me. That ain't what we want. And then the Bible says this in Deuteronomy 17 and 15. Thou shalt in no wise set him king over thee. Most High didn't want him to do that. Whom the Lord thy God shall choose, whom the Lord thy God shall choose is one from among thy brethren. See, one of Israel, and set the king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Salaki for a second here. Salaki for 1 second. Salaki for 1 second. Hold a minute. Okay. Lock it for that. Some technical difficulty. Okay. The Most High, turn to Deuteronomy 17 and 14 for me. When thou art come into the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me. This is what our people said, man. Like all the nations that are. Now, how did they know that? You got that for me? Read verse. Read that again for me. 17 and 14 for me, Baba Kushah.
Deuteronomy 17 and 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee,
Right.
and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein,
Right.
and shall say, I will set a king over me.
He would do what?
I will set a king over me.
This is what they said. I'm gonna set a king over because they spy. They looking at the other nations, trying to be like them. Go ahead, finish reading.
Like as all the nations that are about me.
All the nations that are about me. Read first, verse 15. Deuteronomy 17 and 15. Baba
Verse
Kushah.
15. What you said, 15?
15.
Verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee.
Then the Most High said, "Don't thou shalt in any wise set a king over thee." You know, finish reading that for me.
Like as all the nations that are about me.
Right. All the nations are about whom thy Lord. Read verse 15 again for me, Baba Kushah.
Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee,
Gone.
whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Finish reading.
One from among thy God.
One from among thy.
One from among thy brethren.
Right.
Shalt thou set king over thee.
Okay.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee.
Don't set a stranger over thee. See, all these other nations and their kings and their congressmen and their presidents, those are kings. Though the Most High said, the way it's, kings, we're really saying they're presidents. They're other leaders. And then that's what he's saying. You shouldn't be choosing these. Okay? You got, is that all you got on that? Okay, got it. Okay, good. The Most High, let's turn to, let's see, 15, yeah, we read that. We read 14. Okay, and then give me Proverbs 29 and 2 for me. You see, when the Most High knows that when we have a righteous ruler in front of us, an authority, the people are going to rejoice, But right now, from all of the killings that we've had in the street and all of the things that we've had going on lately, George Floyd's killings right there, all because our people, we choose the elected leaders, the presidents and all of this stuff, and even some of these wicked police, police chiefs and some of whoever's in charge of this, their government itself is wicked enough to allow them to kill us because we elect these leaders ourselves. We should have stayed out of that. The Most High, we should have chose the Most High. You got Proverbs 29 and 2 for me, Baba Kushah?
Proverbs 29 and 2. Mm-hmm. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
Yes, and finish.
But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
The people, and see, we're mourning right now. We're mourning. Judah is mourning. We are mourning. We're the 12 tribes of Israel. We're mourning because we have set Joe Biden again in office. I'm sorry, another elected leader. And all we had to do is not, because see, the black vote is important to them, Our crazy people, all we had to do, our leaders, man, all they had to do was just sit back and just say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to come in ISUPK and come under Commander General Yohana and let him be your leader. That would be, because the Most High has appointed him, okay? Not saying that he's a king or something, but he's a righteous leader to lead us in ISUPK. But no, our people wanted to go and said, nah, we're going to go. As a matter of fact, I'll read you a little bit here that I read last time. It says one of the leaders here, one of the mayors of I think it was Sparta, one of these towns here. I can't remember. This guy said, Joe Biden said, we need someone to take us through the Red Sea. He said Joe Biden can do this. This is what he said. I said that last week. He also said to make America great again. That's what he wants. This wicked preacher, wicked mayor, is wanting to go and allow you to believe that Joe Biden can do this? And of course, we had another pastor here, Pastor Anthony Thomas. He said, we need to get past the forgiveness, slave, and racism and forgiveness. And see, these are things. Our leaders got their mind on money, women, fame, open up churches, and trying to be somebody, everybody that they're not. And that's why our leaders have failed. And they're causing us to choose these leaders that can't help us. They're choosing a nation that can't help us. So in Deuteronomy, the 17th, 14th chapter, it says, when you come into the lands, back then and even now, we're in a wicked land right here. The Most High said, don't choose none of these leaders. Don't choose them because they will simply cause you to go astray. Let's see. And let's turn, because Israel, give me Hosea 13 and 9. Hosea 13 and 9. See, we've destroyed ourselves. Actually for lack of knowledge also, but we've destroyed ourselves because we've allowed ourselves to do everything except for Yahushua. What the Christ has said and what the Most High has said to us. We've done everything but right. And so you got Hosea 13 and 4. 13 and 4. Okay, take your time. Hosea 13 and 4, it says basically the Most High is saying this here. He gave us, when we came out of the land of Egypt, see, the Most High knew we'd get ourselves caught into America in this place right here. This is called bondage. Of course, we were in a real place called Egypt. The Most High said, we have destroyed ourselves. Let's see. What did I say?
Hosea 13 and 4.
Hosea 13 and give me 13 and 9. I'm sorry.
Hosea 13 and 9.
Uh-huh.
O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself.
Thou hast what?
Thou hast destroyed thyself.
That's right. Finish reading.
But in me is thine help.
In me is thine help. In other words, the Most High is willing to help us. And that's all we have to do is what? Online. If the Most High said, I want you guys to tell me online in the chat there, read that text again. I want you guys to tell me, if we destroyed ourselves, the Most High say, but in me is thine help. What help do you think the Most High is going to give us? Finish reading that. Read that again.
Hosea 13 and 9.
Uh-huh.
O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself.
Right.
But in me is thine help.
In me is thine help. The Most High said, in me, Prophet Tony. We have Sister Yaila. We'll have, Sister Yaila coming in, checking in. Glad to have you in, sis. It's me. O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself. But in me is thine help. So on the chat, what help do you think the Most High is going to tell? What do you think he's telling us to do? Because we've destroyed ourselves. How do we come out of this destruction here for choosing these wrong nations, for trying to follow these other leaders and these other nations? How do you think, what do you think, type it in the chat, what do you think the Most High is saying right here? It says, but in me is thine help. What kind of help? What do you think he's going to give us? What do you think? I mean, it's something that the Most High is saying, that he's going to give us help. So what help do you think he's going to give us? Because we sure enough destroyed. Everybody can certainly attest and know that Israel's destroyed because we've chose these other nations, man. It said, thou hast destroyed ourselves, man. We destroyed. Since we came out of Egypt, and then we came over because we're going to have a commemoration of Passover coming up, of commemoration that Passover. We destroyed ourselves all this time. We came across the Red Sea, and we came to the land of Canaan, and the Most High pushing out all the other nations for us, and we sitting up here destroying ourselves by trying to grab a king like the other nations. So in the chat, tell me, what kind of help do you think the Most High is going to give us? What is he going to tell us? What do we need to do as a nation to get back to the Lord? That's a better way of saying it. What kind of, that's a better way of saying it. What do you think we need to do? Anybody, raise your hand. Go ahead, say it loud and clear.
Salaki, come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments.
Clap it up for the truth. When you come back to these laws, Salaki, these laws, statutes, and commandments, that's the help that the Most High is saying, man. He'll wake up families. He'll keep us together. All we have to do is come back to Lord's statutes and commandments and stop saying Joe Biden is going to be your, what it says right here, your Red Sea crosser. Or we need someone like the pastors are saying, forget about slavery, racism, and forgiveness. Here's a mayor, man, a prominent figure. He certainly can't be our leader, you know. And Joe Biden, an Edomite, Idumea, he certainly can't be our leader. See, we choosing these presidents here, voting for them, that's what caused our destruction. This is what's going on in our land because we don't even know how to choose our leaders properly. You know, we shouldn't be, a lot of people say, well, who's going to be our president? You know, come in ISUPK. We'll show you how to follow a decent leader. You know, we don't have a king here. We have a leader. You know, Commander General Yohana. He'll show you how to go through these scriptures and how to keep, as the trooper said, how to keep the Lord's statutes and commandments. Let's lock it for a second. Shalom, Lord of Christ.
A friend or family member who recently traveled with the Hilton recommended you to receive a complimentary.
Salakia for that. Had to get rid of the phone call there. But check this out. You know, Samuel back in the days, he knew our downfall, man, was imminent. It was on the way. Because, you know, we always wanted to go, let's see, leaders, now kind of, okay. Yeah. When you go into, let's see what we got here. When we go into voting, when we go into marching on the streets, you know, these people in America, these leaders, these police, and the presidents of the United States, they don't have no respect for us right there. They don't have any respect for us doing their data. They could care less. They don't have any. Matter of fact, they'll follow you up the street. They follow these the fake Black Lives Matter groups up the street, and we're out there in the camps. They followed them and watched them. These guys had their guns. We had the who else? The Black Lives Matter, and we had the Black Panthers movement. You know, they're out there doing stuff that the Most High has never told us to do, all because we're destroyed, because we're looking at the other nations and their kings and say, oh, and then see their rulership, they say, oh yeah, we can give you a right to just go down the street and vote, and you know, I'm sorry, a right to go and march. You know, go ahead, you can do that. You know, you should be trying to push this gospel ahead, and tell the Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians who they are, instead of out there talking about all of these, following all these other leaders, and trying to push Joe Biden as your leader, as if. And I had people like in the days when Barack Obama was picked, trying to pick him as, oh, he's gonna pay my mortgages, he's gonna pay my bills. It's stupid foolishness. Listen, these people out here hunting our steps in the street. Give me Lamentations 4:18. They're out here, if you could for me, Bob Gashad Trooper. They're out here hunting our steps. Lamentations 4:18. They're out here hunting our steps, man, and we can't go out in the streets, and we sitting up here talking about marching and this. We're talking about voting and the audacity for some preachers talking about forget about racism, forget about the slavery, give forgiveness. You know, that's their way of trying to be like Esau, trying to be like the other nations, trying to accept whatever laws they have in front of them. Let's follow by them. And I mean, I'm not talking about running a stop sign and a red light. I'm talking about, oh, well, we don't know what else to do. Listen, let me tell you about voting. Let me go to that one for a second. You got that, Bob Gashah?
Lamentations 4:18.
Okay, go ahead. Read out loud.
They hunt our steps.
Right.
That we cannot go in our streets.
We can't go out in the street. Our what? Go ahead. Finish.
Our end is near.
Our end is near. Finish reading.
Our days are fulfilled.
Our days are fulfilled, man. That's good enough right there. You see, they hunting our steps out here. They ain't playing around. They're watching us. They're hunting our steps. They say, here is another black man we can take out of here. And see, we sitting up here not even understanding that these other nations hate us. So you should be sitting up here coming to ISUPK to teach this gospel, man, to become, to follow, to help your family out, to save you, and before, so you won't be destroyed. And no, they hunting our steps, and you sitting up here thinking, oh, that's coincidence. No, this is in the Bible. Read that again, Baba Gashah. Show you how following the other ruling of the police, how they let the police out on us and destroy us. Read that again, Lamentations 4:18.
Lamentations 4:18. They hunt our steps.
Right.
That we cannot go in our streets.
We can't even go out in our streets. Our end is near. And what else?
Our days are fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Our end is come.
Okay. That's right. That's it on that?
Come.
Okay, good. And see, our people are falsely accused, man, also. Before, falsely accused, I mean, they hang us in the street. We're stereotyped as thieves, all because we think that the other nations' kings, they're to be desired. We ought to follow them, follow what they're doing. Follow them, and not even realize we're getting destroyed. Because you think it's a coincidence. This stuff is real out here. They're not playing around. They're serious. So what we have to do is keep the law, statutes, commandments, and get off of this trying to forgive the other nations. The Most High, get off this Stockholm syndrome. No, Most High never said for you to go and do that. Not to go and vote out in the vote and march. And Martin Luther King thought that. And look what wound up. Look how we wound up destroyed. We should have kept and stayed in our black Oklahoma when we were supposed to do the things. When we were making money, that would have been our better understanding of it. Let's go to, we're going to go to of how to make money. But the Most High destroyed that. Matter of fact, they hated us so much. The elected leaders, they came in, they bombed us, tore down our Black Wall Street. I mean, I'm old enough to understand and realize that in our towns we had segregation, man, and it was fine. I had no problem with it. I had no fine. Never saw Esau in there. We had our own communities. We had just like Wall Street. It wasn't rich, but we had our own community, our own swimming pool, our own gymnasium, our own schools. The only thing we had to go to the doctor for is just to get shots and records and come on back to our schools. That's what we had when I was a young man, young teenager growing up in Florida here. Let me show you what Samuel, what problem he had going there trying to keep our people from choosing other nations. Give me Samuel, 1 Samuel 8:1. Okay, show y'all downfall. Samuel, if you have any questions in the chat, type them up in there. 1 Samuel 8:1. Yeah, let's see what that's got going on there. Wait a minute, hold a minute. It's locked. 1 Samuel. Yeah. Okay. 1 Samuel 8:1. It says, did I say that? 8:1. I'm Salakia. Oh, man. Okay, 1 Samuel came to pass. Okay, check this out. Read 1 Samuel for me, 8:1. Because Samuel, you got to understand, he was a judge in the land. The Most High gave us judges. people that can have rulers who can have righteous understanding. These are our leaders that we had back in those days. You know, you got to understand even Solomon. Solomon, of course, back then when the Bible relates to his kings, yes, okay, but they're really leaders, you know. They basically had understanding of how to judge a nation, you know. Solomon was a leader. Matter of fact, he took we may get to that story here, but two women came to him with babies and said, listen, is it this baby or that baby? Because the other one had smothered one baby, and the woman said, no, this is mine. So Solomon was a judge. He had to be able to judge that. So he's coming up here and said, all right, take this baby right here and kill it. Another mother said, oh, no, don't do that. And so Solomon knew right away with his judgment, he understood. See, these are the appointed leaders that the Most High gave us because he can exact judgment on his people. We can talk to the Most High instead of talking to all these Edomites and Moabites and Ammonites and Girgasites and Ham, you know, and all of these wicked nations about us. The Most High never told us. Okay, let's read a little bit about Samuel, and we're going to expose here a little bit more about the leadership, the rulership, and how it went. 1 Samuel 8.
1 Samuel 8 and 1.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass,
right,
when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel.
See, Samuel was old, you know, he had went through his judgment, and he made his sons judges over Israel, okay? Of course, we're going to go through a little bit about his sons, what his sons did, and we'll show you how we're going to go through this story here. Go ahead and read verse 2.
Chapter 8, verse 2.
Uh-huh.
Now the name of his firstborn was Joel,
Mm-hmm.
and the name of his second,
Abiah.
Mm-hmm. They were judges in Beersheba.
Right. Okay.
And his sons walked not in the ways.
Okay, see, they walked not in the ways of the Most High. And that was, of course, you know, I'm pretty sure Samuel was disappointed, as the story would tell you. They didn't walk in the ways of the Most High, but the story's not cruxed on that. It's just that his sons didn't. You know, finish reading.
But turned aside after lucre.
After lucre. What's lucre? You know? And do what else? Took what?
And took bribes.
Uh-huh.
And perverted judgment.
Right. You know, they took the spoil. They took they took gain, money, you know, and bribes, and things, you know, just lucre, just whatever they can get. Things that they were about money. That's the whole point. And did what? They perverted what?
They perverted judgment.
Okay, good. Go down to verse. Well, let's go down to verse 5, and behold, our sons. Okay, go to verse 5. Read verse 5 for me, Baba Kusai.
Chapter 8, verse 5.
Uh-huh.
And said unto him, Behold, thou art old,
Uh-huh.
and thy sons walk not in thy ways.
See, Samuel was old, and of course the elders. Let's go back and read verse 4 here. Let's make sure we understand that a little bit better. Go ahead, verse 4. Go ahead.
Chapter 8, verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah.
See, all the older people, elders is what elder mean, the older people, they came there, the older leaders and appointees, they came and said, look here, man, your son, I finished reading verse 5, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And thy sons walk not in the way.
Their sons walk not in the way. See, finish reading.
Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations.
Now what? Read that again.
Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations.
So make us a king. Now how do they know about these other nations? Because like I said, Israel's right here in Canaan. You know, all these other nations. And they wanted a king to judge them. You know, instead of judges. In other words, they done messed up the perverted judgment there, so they feeling a little down, and they're wondering, said, you know, look, we tired of these judges, man. Sam, you were old. We wish you could be around. Your sons, though, they done filthy lucre and gain and all this stuff, and Abiah and Joel, your firstborn, man, they ain't doing right. You know, this is just how black people talk. They ain't doing right. So Now we're showing you how Samuel, how we got off into wondering. What we did back then is the same thing we're doing nowadays. The same thing we did back then is the same thing we're doing nowadays by we're being destroyed like our nations were being destroyed back then. Instead of doing what the Most High says, they got off. But let's finish reading here. Verse 6.
But the thing displeased Samuel.
What he heard, basically them murmuring like that, it displeased Samuel. Samuel was a strong leader. Go ahead.
When they said, "Give us a king to judge us."
Give us a king. That's like saying, give us Joe Biden. I'm sorry. Now let me back up. That's not like saying Joe Biden. That's like saying, give us a king, like a rulership like the America does, instead of judgment, instead of a judge, like Solomon did and like Samuel did. Instead of having the judge, because the judge is in contact with the Most High through the angels. He sits there and prays and he understands what's going on. But a king, in other words, a king should have proper judgment, and his sons didn't. They wasn't judges. But so they say, look, we're tired of them. So read verse 6 again. 1 Samuel 8 and 6.
1 Samuel 8 and 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us."
Give us a king to judge. Because Samuel knew right away, oh my God, our people up here want to elect the same way these other nations are running their countries. Now they want our nations, helping Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, to run like the other nations. That's basically what it's saying up in here. That's what this is saying. And but the thing displeased Samuel, and read that again. But the thing what? Verse 6.
But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." And Samuel prayed unto the Lord.
See, he prayed unto the Most High because he knew, oh man, my people, they messing up out here. They sitting up here wanting somebody like these other. They want the other nations type of rulership, to the kingship, the plushness and all of that, instead of a real judge, somebody that can discern, somebody that can weigh the balances, somebody that can understand the law, statutes, and commandments, man. And that's what the Most High wanted. He didn't want us to have really a king. He wanted us to have judges over us. Okay, finish reading. Verse 7.
And the Lord said unto Samuel, "Hearken unto the voice of the people."
Hearken. What does hearken mean? In the chat, type it up in the chat. What does hearken mean? We'll give you a second chance before we answer here in class. In the chat, let's Asha and Daquan and Sister Yala and Asha and everybody's in the chat and anybody looking on the chat. Tell me. So I can read that again. Sorry.
And Samuel, and the Lord said unto Samuel, "Hearken unto the voice of the people, and all that they say unto thee."
Okay, stop right there. So what does hearken mean? What are they saying right here when it says hearken unto the voice of the people? What does that mean? Wait a minute. We'll see who's going to type it up in chat. We'll give them a second here. We'll give them about 15 more seconds, then we're going to answer it in class because, they have to type it in. We're going to give everybody a chance. It says hearken. Hearken unto the people, man. That's what, because the Most High is talking to Samuel, and he's saying, by whether it be through angels or however the circumstance it is, the Most High is talking through Samuel and tell him, look, hearken unto the voice of the people. See, these the Lord said, these are my people. Hearken to them. What does hearken mean? I want y'all to come in. We'll give you 10 more seconds here. Okay? What does hearken mean? when it says to hearken. What does that word sound like? To hearken unto the voice. You know, okay, let's see. Sister, let's see. No, I'm sorry. Who is this? Rod McDowell, speak, check in. Okay, Ronald McDowell, glad to have you here, brother. Checking in from Chicago. What does hearken mean? Okay, we'll give you 10 more seconds since we just checked in here. What does hearken mean? Hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say to thee. What does hearken mean? What did the Most High was saying to Samuel? What was that? What did that mean? You know, what is that saying? Hearken unto the people. Okay. All right. A few more seconds here. Then we'll answer it here in class. Okay, let's see. Listen. Listen, the brothers, pay attention. Okay, he says listen. What does that say? Listen, beware, pay attention. Okay, hearken. We clap it up, fella. I'll take that answer right there. Hearken means listen. Clap it up for the brother. Brother McDowell checking up. That's a good answer. I appreciate that. Checking in from Chicago there. It means to listen. Let's say we have Sister Yaila. Clap it up for her. If she says listen, she says listen, all right. Clap it up for her, okay? And I'm pretty sure others knew that. But what this is saying, now read verse 7 again. This is what Samuel had to go through with our hard-headed, stiff-necked people. Finish reading verse 7, Baba Kushah, for me.
Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people.
Right.
And all that they say unto thee.
And all, not some. Just hearken unto them. In other words, listen to them. Go ahead. Finish reading.
For they have not rejected thee.
Right.
But they have rejected me.
They ain't reject you, Samuel. The Most High said, they're not rejecting you, man. They rejecting me. In other words, the Most High said, you're not rejecting Samuel. You rejecting me. Because now you want to make us a king. The Most High never wanted them to do that. In other words, you shouldn't have kings of the other nations around about you. Because you listen to these other, you sitting up here and you spying on this other land and said, man, these guys got it going on. That king get the grapes and apples and the horses and the people living, dressing good, whatever they gave him, but not knowing, but that's not of the Most High. The Most High never told him to do that. And the Most High, the Lord said it to Samuel, hark to the voice of the people, and all that is said to them, that they have not rejected thee, they rejected the Most High. They rejected me. And finish reading that. Read that again for me, Baba Kushah. Verse. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, the Most High, he told them to hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say, so that when things didn't go the way they thought it was going to go,
right,
he could say, well, we did exactly what you wanted. Your plan wasn't good enough. If you would listen to me, what I gave you, then things would have worked out the way it should have.
Right. Clap it up for him. I'll take that right there. That's a good little understanding of it. Basically, the Most High, read that again for me, verse 7 right there, because this is a crucial thing. How our people see back then, there's no new thing under the sun. We were messing up even back then. And for our nation, and we start off with our nation, this is how we learned to go after the other nations. We learned it right here. And of course, before then too. But here is a good story. Here's a good understanding of how we wanted kings to rule over us instead of the judges that the Most High wanted. Finish reading that again.
And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people.
Right.
And all that they say unto thee.
Right.
For they have not rejected thee.
They ain't rejected you, Samuel. Finish reading.
But they have rejected me.
They rejected the Most High. And finish reading.
That I should not reign over them.
That who should not reign over them?
That I should not reign over them.
That who should not reign over them?
That I should not reign over them.
That's right. The Most High is telling you right here that I should not reign over them. So who is really reigning over us? Who was really reigning over his people? Somebody answer that. Anybody? What is this really saying? It says, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. What is this really saying? It says, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. That's right. The Most High is telling you right here that I should not reign over them. So who is really reigning over his people? Somebody answer that. Anybody? What is this really saying? It says, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. What is that saying? Go ahead. Or unless you know, I didn't know if you're ready. Go ahead.
Slacky, they think it's Samuel they're rejecting, but it's really the Most High.
So who is really in reign?
The Most High.
Clap it up. The Most High is really in reign. Who's our king? The Most High. Yahweh is really the king. We destroyed ourselves, man. We'll hold on to that for a second. Give me what's that? Hosea 13:10. Can you turn to that real quick for me, Baba Kashah? So our real person who is reigning over Israel, the Most High said, they have rejected me. In other words, the Most High understood. Samuel understood that the Most High was saying, man, this ain't your fault, man. It ain't your fault that they want to choose the other nations' leaders. They don't realize they're getting destroyed up in here. And that's what we're doing right now, getting destroyed. You know, they hunting us in the street and killing us with all these different crazy laws that's going on here, all because we didn't want the judges of Israel. In order to have a judge, you have to if you follow the Lord's statutes and commandments and do like we said, and the judge is over us, and back in Samuel days, we wouldn't have the problems right now. See, if you get an ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, you wouldn't have nearly the problems that you have out in this world right now. See, by having a righteous ruler to understand to rule you. Check this out. Hosea 13:10. What does that say right there?
Hosea 13:10.
Uh-huh.
I will be thy king.
Who will be thy king?
I will be thy king.
Go to verse 9 right here. Go to 9. Let's lead up to it.
Verse 9.
Uh-huh.
O Israel.
Right.
Thou hast destroyed thyself.
We have destroyed ourselves. And finish reading.
But in me is thine help.
And me is thy help. He's gonna give you. He's the king. He's gonna give you the Lord's statutes, commandments. Finish reading.
I will be thy king.
I will be thy king. That's what this is saying right here. It's a precept for what we're saying here. But it said that I should not. It said I'll reign over. And Most High is saying that they rejected me, Samuel, that I should not reign over. That I should not reign over them. So these passages go hand in hand. They precept each other. It's basically saying the Most High is. Who's our king? The Father we fear. The Most High is saying, you ain't supposed to be out here choosing these other nations out here or trying to be like their kingship. All of the perks that they got out here, trying to bring that stuff up in here. We follow law, statutes, commandments, and rank and order up in here. But now let's see where we at. That was 13:4, the ISUPK king. Read that again. Let's make sure we understood that.
O Israel.
Uh-huh.
Thou hast destroyed thyself.
Thou destroyed thyself. Now, it ain't like this right here. Israel destroyed themselves. This is a account right here, and we're still destroying ourselves, even right now, because we want to be like the other nations. Finish reading.
But in me is thine help.
In me is thine help. The Most High is saying, in me is thy help. But in other words, the Most High has all of the power. He has the understanding to help us and to follow the Lord's statutes and commandments. It's really simple as that. Finish reading.
I will be thy king.
I will be thy king.
Where is any other that may save thee in all thy cities?
That's right. That's enough. That's good. Let's clap it up for the Most High. Clap it up because, see, he's saying that I will be thy king. That's what we should say, each one of us in the ISUPK and all of our nations, all of our blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians should say, I don't want to choose these other nations. I want the Most High to be my king. I want him. We don't want to choose other nations. We don't want we don't want the destruction that we've had in Lamentations 4:18, man, hunting our steps across everywhere. Go back to 1 Samuel. You could for me, Bob, shall I take your time there? Go back to 1 Samuel. I believe we was on 7. Let's go with, I think it's verse 8 there. Go back there. Let's see what we have here. We have Adrian checking in. Glad to have you, Sister Adrian.
1 Samuel what?
Listen, okay, yeah, good. Verse, 1 Samuel, what did I say? 1 Samuel verse 8. Let's pick up, well, you know,
What chapter?
huh?
What chapter?
1 Samuel 8, I'm sorry, Salakia. 1 Samuel 8, might as well read 7 again, that way get it back into the groove right there, and then we'll keep on reading the story here. We'll show you what happened to this story, man. This is a storytelling, it's called like a pitiful one, really, when you think about it, of how we destroyed ourselves back then. We're destroying ourselves right now. Hey, when you got mayors talking that, hey, man, you know, Joe Biden can lead us. And we got pastors saying, don't worry about it. Forget about all that slavery and racism garbage. Look at this mess. Look at these leaders. Them ain't no leaders. They're idiots. Check this out. Read verse 7 again. 1 Samuel 8 and 7.
1 Samuel 8 and 7.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people,
Okay.
and all that they say unto thee.
Right.
For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over
That I should not reign over him. Okay, go to verse 8. Finish up.
according to all thy works, which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt.
See, the Most High brought us out of Egypt until this day. This back then, what Samuel was saying. He brought the people out. Keep reading.
Even unto this day.
Even until this day. Go ahead.
Wherewith they have forsaken me.
They have forsaken me, man. And how do you forsake the Lord? And did what?
And served other gods.
And did what?
And served other gods.
They serve other gods, man. This you can't serve other gods and expect anything good to happen out of it. So finish reading.
So do they also unto me.
Unto thee. No problem. Verse 9. Read that here.
Now therefore, hearken unto their voice.
So he's the Most High said, hearken unto thy voice. And what else?
Howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them.
Let's read that. Go from the top there and read that again for me, Baba Kashab.
Now therefore, hearken unto their voice. Howbeit yet protest.
How be it is what it's saying. In other words, he's asking the question, how are you doing? How is this possible? Howbeit
Yet protest solemnly unto them.
In other words, howbeit he's telling them, not a question, he's just saying, howbeit. In other words, yet protest solemnly unto them. Well, what does that mean? What is he trying to say there? He's saying, is he saying get out in the street and march? Protest and protest solemnly unto them. So in the chat, let's see. Let's pick it up from our chat here again. What is it saying right here when it says, now therefore hearken unto their voice? Howbeit, in other words, yet protest solemnly unto them, man, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. So what does it mean when it says to protest solemnly? Is this like Black Lives Matter on the streets? Is this like what else? The voting rights in Atlanta they have here. This is how we protest by voting? You know, do we march with the Black Panthers like on the street with guns and say no? Protest solemnly. You know, do we hold a protest? Like Martin Luther King said, we shall overcome. That garbage mess that got us in trouble and caused messed up a bunch of families. So what does protest solemnly? Now therefore hearken unto their voice. The Most High saying, howbeit, in other words, or yet protest solemnly unto them. And protest solemnly unto them. So what does that mean? What are they saying in the chat? Let's pick it up and tell me what they're saying. We'll give you guys a few more seconds here. What is that really saying? Protest solemnly. Is that little infamous word now that people think that this means that you can go out in the street and say, Black Lives Matter, or what else? Here's a gun. I can walk it down the street. I got the rights, you know. Knowing you know that you're 3/5 of a person. Sitting up here looking at the other laws of the other land, choosing the other nations' characteristics, their kings, their understanding has destroyed us, man. But the Most High said this, now therefore hearken unto their voice. Listen to them, because I'm going to tell them something. And it says, howbeit, but yet protest solemnly unto them. So what is he really saying to Samuel to do? What is he saying for Samuel to say? What is he saying to him? You know, what is he saying to Samuel? Protest solemnly. What does that mean? Give you guys about 15 more seconds here. Okay. Protest solemnly. What does that really mean? Anybody? Anybody in the class? Out there in the chat? Anybody in class? What does it mean by anybody at all? Even in the South Carolina building right now. What does that mean? Just protest solemnly unto them. Because it's important, you know, to understand how the Most High talked to us. Because he certainly didn't mean for us to go out. Let's see what Sister Adrian said. She said to protest slowly to the, what does that say? Ron McDowell and follow his commandments to protest strictly to him. Okay, to follow his commandments. I would say, I'm glad, when he says protest solemnly unto them, in other words, the solemn assembly, that means go and get with them and take your time and explain to them when he says solemnly, that means not like wildly, you know, go and sit down and talk to them where the men talk to the people, all of them, or, you know, so that they can understand, look, this is the solemn assembly. A place set aside to go in and just do a solemn assembly to say, we're going to basically tell you, we're going to show you what the Most High wants, you know. Now therefore hearken unto their voice. In other words, protest solemnly to them and show them the manner of the king. In other words, show them, not like, even if it was out, they ain't going into the grove somewhere. They're going in a place where, just like you would go in a solemn assembly, or just like we're here right now, or a place solemnly, in other words, because he wants to explain. That means he don't want to have no babies crying. He don't want to have all this stuff. He wants to go into a place where Israel can hear, so he can explain. Not, because he's talking to his people. He ain't talking to a whole nother nation. So this can't be protesting to the other nations. He's talking about protest solemnly to his people. In other words, explain to them. Explain to them. And finish reading. Read verse 9 again for me, Baba Kushah. The prophet, what is that? The prophet in a solemn, humble way. Yeah, you can do that. I accept it. I mean, you know, in a humble way. Basically, you guys saying in a humble way, he's going. In other words, it don't have to be in a humble way. He's just basically saying that go and explain to them and tell them. In other words, tell them what the Most High wants, how he wants this done. That's what the Most High is really saying to them. So read verse 9 again for me, Baba Kushah Trooper.
1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 9.
Uh-huh.
Now therefore, hearken unto their voice.
Hearken to their voice. Listen to them. Uh-huh.
Howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them.
Explain to them. Uh-huh.
And shew them the manner of the king that shall reign over
In other words, show them the manner of the king. He didn't say show them the king. Just show them how I look at kings, how I understand. In other words, judges. And because that's what he tried to give them at first. You know, his two sons messed up. So finish reading verse 10.
And Samuel told all the words.
He did what?
Told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king.
Okay, in other words, when they asked him a king, Samuel said, he told all the words. In other words, it's explaining. He is explaining to them, and he told all the words until, read that again, and Samuel did what? Verse 10.
And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king.
Right, to the people that asked him of a king, Samuel explained it to them. In verse 11, read that.
And he said, this will be a manner of the king that shall reign over you.
Okay, in other words, the kind of king I'm talking about that's going to reign over you, This shall be the manner. Go ahead.
He will take your sons
Uh-huh.
and appoint them for himself,
Uh-huh.
for his chariots, and to be his horsemen. And some shall run before his chariots.
Okay, go ahead and read.
And he will appoint him captains over thousands,
Uh-huh.
and captains over 50,
Uh-huh.
and will set them to ear his ground,
Uh-huh.
and to reap his harvest,
Right.
and to make his instruments of war,
Right.
and instruments of his chariot.
Uh-huh.
And he will take
So stop for a second. Stop for a second. So what Samuel was explaining was what? What kind of rulership was he explaining right here? How the manner of kings should behave, and what is king going to do? And he shall, this manner of the king shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them, and blah. And he will go down to verse 12. He will appoint him captains over thousands, captains of 50. What does that sound like to you? In the chat, let's get the door for me, Bobby Shop. What does that sound like to you when you take captains of thousands and captains of 50s and will set them the ear to the ground and reap the harvest, okay? What does that sound like, Bobby Shop, when he's saying he's taking captains of 50s? I mean, does that sound, and type it in the chat, what does that sound like to you? I mean, Baba Kushah, what is the Most High really saying here? I mean, I'm sorry, what is Samuel, what is Samuel saying under the Most High? What is he saying? What is Samuel saying that the Most High said to do? In other words, when he said, I will appoint thee, read that verse 12 again, what the Most High is telling Samuel to tell the people. Go ahead, read that again.
And he will appoint him captains over thousands,
Right.
and captains over 50,
Right.
and will set them to ear his ground.
Right. Let's see what we have. Adrian, we have UPK, the military, one holy, what was that? Military, creating an army, one body, spirit, UPK. Who else we have? An army of that rank and order. Very good. Let's clap it up for them right there. Exactly right. The Most High is telling you, Trooper, you got to go out? Okay, Trooper, do me a favor. But the Most High is basically, for all those answers given there, Sister Adrian, Sister Trooper Asha, that's exactly right. This is basically, he says, appoint captains of thousands and captains of 50s will set the, man, listen, I'm an officer of 50. So we know what this is saying. The Most High was saying, this is a rank and order system that the Most High is given right here. And then, of course, if you read down further, he will set daughters, confectionaries be cooks, and will take the field, and then, let's see, what else? And I will take a tenth of your seed, and then I will take your men servants and maid servants, and your goodlings, young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take a tenth of your sheep, and he shall be his servants, and he will take a tenth. Sound like a tithe right there. And ye shall cry out in that day because our king, which, check this out. Well, let's go back here. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which shall have chosen ye shall have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. In other words, this is the manner. This is the manner of what the kings are going to do. In other words, he's going to do all this appointing captains, thousands over 50s, but he's trying to do a rank and order. But he says right here, he said the kings also, he says, and he will take a tenth of your seed of your vineyards. He won't want him a tenth, and give to the officers and to his services. This is what the king going to do. This is the manner, is what he's going to do. Okay? So instead of having judges of the land, this is what your kings will do for you. In other words, is this what you really want? And he will take your men servants and maid servants and your goodliness, young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. Okay? He will take a tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. Does that sound like what you wanted? And then verse 18. Read verse 18 for me. First
Samuel chapter 8, verse 18.
Uh-huh.
And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye...
Because of your what?
Because of your king...
Because of your king, okay.
Which ye shall have chosen you.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
Why I want to hear you? Because this is a manner of, in other words, because you want a king. You know, the Most High wanted to give us judges in the land, you know. Because we wanted a king, he says, he's showing you what the king's going to do. Of course, he's going to go through and appoint captains. He's going to go through and appoint captains of thousands. He's going to go through this. And Samuel says, look, at the manner, it says, go back to 11. And go back and read verse 11 again.
And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you.
Right.
He will take your sons.
Right.
And appoint them for himself, for his chariot.
Right.
And to be his horsemen.
Right.
And some shall run before his chariot.
Okay, now go, and of course he's going to do all. This is what, the kind of king you asking for, this is what he's going to do. And Samuel's breaking it down to him. He's trying to let these people know. Go ahead and you had a question? No? Okay. Yeah. And he will take, read verse 16. Let's read a little bit more of that. Uh-huh. Let's go back. Go back to 15. 1 Samuel 8 and 15. Uh-huh.
1 Samuel 8 and 15. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards and give to his officers.
Uh-huh. And to his
servants.
Okay. Go ahead. This sound like the king that you guys wanted. Verse 16.
And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses,
right,
and put them to his work.
What else? Verse 17.
He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants.
Right, and the Most High didn't want us to be servants now. But check this out. Verse Samuel 8 and 18. Read that again.
And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king.
Because of whose king?
Because of your king.
No, it said the Most High's king.
Because of your king.
It said all of the elders' king.
Because of your king.
Because of the elders' king. That's right. Because of what y'all wanted.
Which ye shall have chosen for you.
Mm-hmm. The Lord what?
And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
The Lord will not hear you in that day, because the Most High didn't ask you to choose a king like that. He said, he gave you sons. See, they wasn't rejecting Samuel, they was rejecting the Most High. So who is our really king? Who really is our king? Raise your hand. Who's our real king? Go ahead.
The Most High?
The Most High. Clap it up. Clap it up. The Most High is our real king. See, these people, the Most High, the Samuel was trying to break it down to them. It's going to resemble and look like what you wanted, you know. But the Most High, go ahead.
It really just goes to show that the people, they don't want a righteous king. They want a king who's gonna do them wrong and do only for himself. They don't want the Most High to rule.
Okay, check this out. And what are they doing in these? What is Joe Biden doing? He's for himself. What is Bill Clinton been? For himself. You know, are they for Israel? Are they for our black people here? No. All of these leaders out here nowadays, they are for themselves and for their people, their nation. The Most High said, look, you look around all these other nations, but Samuel done seen it. He done seen what these other nations do. He done seen what Esau do. He done seen what Moab do. He has seen what Ammon does. He's seen what the Elamites do. Because they living around us. He's seen what the Syrian kings have done. We've been in captivity with them. In other words, here we are in the book of Samuel. Samuel was a judge, man. He knew what was going on. Okay, good. He knew what was going on. See, he was describing him. The Most High was describing to him, look, it will resemble what you want. But read that again, verse 18.
And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen for you. Which you should have chosen for you. And what now? And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
The Lord won't even hear you in that day. All because you wanted a resemblance of the other nation's king. All because you wanted a Joe Biden to lead you in this wicked America. All because you wanted a pastor that all of this stuff that said forget about racism, forget about slavery, forget about forgiveness. All because these other nations You think Joe Biden, dirty Joe Biden, can lead you across the promised Red Sea, and also said, "Make America great again," is what Mayor Michael Butler said out of one of the cities here in South Carolina here. All because of that, our people, our leaders like that, are influencing our people, and up in these churches, clapping hands, and also, oh yeah, clapping hands, let's be like them, because this is what they're gonna get. They're gonna get all of this stuff right here. And Samuel said, "Look, you don't even realize what the Most High is trying to say here. But let me break it down to you. I'm trying to show you. He's gonna take from you, and he ain't gonna use the money right. There's nothing wrong with taking a tenth, but he ain't gonna use this money right. He's gonna take from you. There's nothing wrong with doing what you're supposed to do. But he's gonna take the stuff and use it for himself. This is what a king does, man. This is what these presidents do. In other words, a king can be the same configuration as a president in the United States, a president in all these other countries. We're not supposed to be under the leadership of anybody, and except for Commander General Yohanan and ISUPK. So clap it up for Commander General Yohanan and ISUPK. That's our leader. Why? Now, of course, we know he follows the order of who? In the ranking order. Go ahead.
The Most High?
Go ahead. Back it up a little bit further. Yahweh. And then, of course,
The Most High.
right. You got it. Okay? Understand that. There's always a ranking system here. But Commander General Yohanan follows the orders of Yahweh as it relates to Yahweh, you know? So there's always an order. Nevertheless, because there's a ranking, because we need to understand that. Verse 19. I'm sorry, Salakia. 1 Samuel 8 and 19. Read that.
Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel.
They did what?
And nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel.
They refused to obey the voice of Samuel. Oh my goodness. And that sound like what we're doing nowadays in some of these outside of our black people right now, our blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, Salakia. Read that again, verse 19. Let me show you what our blacks, some of our blacks, most of them anyway, and we're trying to teach them out here in the camps and the school of ISUPK here in South Carolina to hearken unto the voice of the Lord and listen to our leaders, man. I mean, listen to the leader, and understand that Samuel was the leader back then. He said, you need to be hearkening unto the Lord. If the Most High has said to don't eat shrimp, don't eat crab and lobster and pork, where you going to find that out with these other nations? These other nations ain't going to teach you that we're destroyed, man. We're destroyed. We're destroying ourselves. These other nations not going to teach you to do that. So nevertheless, read verse 19 for me again, Baba Gusha.
Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel.
Right. And they did what?
And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us.
So, hard-headed, stiff-necked Israel said, nevertheless, they said this. The people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said what?
Nay, but we will have a king over us.
After reading that and all of that, and these people still would wax in their ears. They knew full well Samuel was a judge, man. He explained it to them straight out. It's going to look like this. It's going to look like all of the captains appointed and grounds appointed and the manner of the reign over you and the sons appointed and a tenth of the seed. This king is going to get his due. You had a question? He's going to get what he needs. But see, our people hard-headed, man, and stiff-necked. Instead of letting Samuel choose a righteous king, in other words, a righteous ruler or a judge, because that's what he tried to do for his two sons, but they disobeyed. And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us. Read verse 20.
that we also may be like all the nations.
All the what?
All the nations.
That we may be also like all the other nations. Isn't that sound like what the epitome is? Lock. Let's lock this up. That sounds like, okay. That sounds like the epitome. Go ahead.
So like it sounds like they envying their oppressors.
That's right. That's right. They envying the oppressor. Exactly. They envy the oppressor. They clap it up for us. That's very good. I like that. They envy our oppressor because the same thing that they're doing nowadays is what they used to do back then. They envy him. They basically want to be like him, you know. And Samuel recognized that. He said, "Man, this is not something that you guys should take lightly here. You're not supposed to be doing that. This is something. This is not something." Let's see here. Let me see here. Let's lock it a second. This is not something that we should take lightly, man. In other words, don't you understand what you're really saying? What the Most High is really trying to warn you against? Because he saw all of the kings that would be over us in our captivity. He saw all this. Let's turn to it. Let's turn to Proverbs 3:31. Let's turn to it. Let's show what the Most High said not to do, because they wanted. Oh, nay, man, we don't want a judge over us. We don't want this. We want to be like all the other nations, and we're gonna read that. We're gonna read that. I like that. We want to be like all the other nations. We want to be like them. That's why we're destroyed, because we're choosing the other nations. We want them. And this is my next text here. It was down the road here, right about here, but we can bring it in right now. Proverbs 3:31. What does it say? Read for me, Baba Shah.
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Right, and go ahead, finish reading.
And choose none of his ways.
Right.
For the froward is abomination to
That's
the
right.
Lord.
It's abomination, man. In other words, the Most High didn't want you to choose or envy these other nations. In other words, don't want to be like the kingships of what they want. Go ahead, Baba Shah.
Slaki, what does froward mean?
Froward. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's look up froward. Let's look it up. I got in my mind what it is, but let's look it up. Okay. You got it over there, or you? Let's see. EFG. In other words, let's see if we can find it here real quick, real easily. Yeah, froward, not forward.
Slaki, I have it.
Go ahead. What you got?
Difficult to deal with, contrary.
Contrary. Yeah. Okay. Difficult to deal with. Contrary. Okay. In other words, read that text again.
For the froward is abomination to the Lord.
Difficult to deal for the people who are difficult to deal with, and what else?
Is abomination to the Lord.
Right.
But his secret is with the righteous.
His secret is with the who?
The righteous.
The who?
The righteous.
And then what secret? What Samuel has to say. In other words, when the Most High has to say to his leader, Samuel, is and anybody that's righteous, the righteous, his secrets, his prophets, his priests, the people and all of the families that join up under the priests and prophets of the Most High, and Commander General Yohana will teach us what we need to understand about the secrets of the Lord, So you, if you, just like the people did back then, just like the people did back then, we're doing the same thing. That's the whole point. The same thing as the people did, as the people are doing nowadays. We want to run after all these other nations, not realizing that that these other nations is our downfall. The Bible doesn't put these texts in here for no reason. You know, our oppressor, words are smooth as butter, man. He will cause you to go astray in a New York minute. So that's why the Most High said, you don't want to be like this. You don't want to make, you don't want to have a king like that over you. Where were we at? Samuel, go back to, what was Samuel? Yeah, 1 Samuel 8 and, let's read 19 just for the sake of, hold a minute, Bible shop. Hold a minute. Let's see here. Read 1 Samuel.
It was
Wait a minute.
1 Samuel
8, and I believe it's 19, I believe.
8 and 11.
Or was it 8 and 18?
I thought it was 8 and 11.
No, just read what I need, okay? I believe it's 8.
Samuel 8 and 18.
Right.
And you shall cry out in that day,
Right.
because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you.
Right. And see, we're gonna. In other words, Samuel's saying you're gonna cry out in this day. You're gonna cry. You're gonna say, "Oh my God, what have we done?" And look, we're crying out right now. We're crying out right now here in America. We're crying out because the kings. We go down to the ballot box and we vote for this guy. You know, a nation that cannot. Let me find that text right here. A nation that can't even save you, and you think. Finish reading that again for me, Bob Shaw.
And ye shall cry out in that day,
Right.
because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you.
Right, and they calls it the king that he just got through describing, and all the readings all the way from 1 Samuel 18 there.
Come.
And read that again. Let me get some hear that again.
And ye shall cry out in that day,
Right.
because of your king, which ye have chosen you.
Right.
You want me to finish that?
Yeah, finish reading that.
And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
Mm-hmm. The Lord will not hear you in a day, because we're sitting up here. Give me Lamentations. Hold on to that and give me Lamentations 4 and 17. We're sitting up here trying to follow nations that can't even save us, man. They can't help us. Barack Obama couldn't help us. Joe Biden can't help us. You know, name the presidents. Go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln. All they people talking about free. So these people did things for their own help. They did exactly what they saw the other nation's king do round about us. That's what they did. They said, no, we want a king. But read, no, hold a minute, Slocky. They looked at the other nations round about. I mean, they got spies, they look. Samuel knows what's going on. He's a judge, you know, because he know, in other words, I got to pay attention to the surroundings of these people and these nations around here. When we were in Canaan, because the Most High had to drive them out, because he know you can't live amongst them. But here, we're in captivity, and we're living amongst the other nations. That's what this is about. We're living amongst other nations. So the Most High has to tell us what to do. But nah, we want a Joe Biden. That's what some of these wicked leaders and some of our blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians are trying to ask for. All right? But they don't realize that these nations, the presidents, the Joe Bidens, the Bush 1 and 2, and all these nations, they couldn't save us. They couldn't do anything for us, but cause our destruction even further. Read that for me. What I say? Lamentations what?
Lamentations 4 and 18.
Read 4 and what does 4 and 17 say there?
As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help.
Our vain help, man. Our eyes have failed for our vain help. And finish reading there.
In our watching, we have watched.
In our watching, we have watched. What verse you on?
17.
Read 16. Let's see what that says.
The anger of the Lord hath divided them. He will no more regard them. They respected not the persons of the priests.
And doesn't that sound like what happened to Samuel? respecting not the person of the priest. Don't that sound like what the same thing? They didn't. They're like what the Most High say. Look, you ain't Samuel. Don't be mad, man. They ain't rejecting you. They rejecting me. In other words, but Samuel had to go through the same stuff. Read verse 16 again.
The anger of the Lord hath divided them.
The Most High's anger. Okay, go ahead.
He will no more regard them.
Right. He will no more regard them. In other words, and no more regard. And then we just got through reading 1 Samuel said, look, in other words, I'm going to laugh at you. Or I will not hear you. I'm sorry, not laugh, but I will not hear you is what it says, what the Most High said. But finish reading there.
They respected not the persons of the priests.
Mm-hmm. They respect not the persons of the priests. That means the priests had the authority to teach this gospel to the people. He has the authority to do that. But they did what? They did what?
They favored not the priests.
They ain't even favored, they even respect them. Go ahead, finish reading. We on Lamentations 4 and 16, I believe, right?
They favored not the elders,
Mm-hmm.
As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help.
For our vain help, for what?
In our watching, we have watched for a nation.
Watch for a nation that what?
That could not save us.
That could not save us. In the book, Lamentations means to weep, to cry. It means to lament. That's what it means. Lamentations. He's saying that as for our vain help, man, we watch for a nation, America, that could not save us from what? From Trayvon Martin getting killed out in the street. A nation that could not save us from George Floyd being put on the ground for 9.5 minutes with a knee on his neck. A nation that watched Orlando Castile get shot in his own car, man, with his child in the back seat. A nation that could not save us. This is what's going on in America right now. A nation that can't not save us. Finish reading.
They hunt our steps.
They do what?
They hunt our steps.
They still hunt our steps. That what?
That we cannot go in our streets.
We can't even go on our own streets. Now, we talked about this. We can't even go on our street because they hunt our steps. Our nation, we sit up here talking about, oh, I'll go vote, and I'll march, and I'll Black Lives Matter, and I'll be able to exercise my rights in a nation that could not what? Go back there again.
They hunt our steps.
Go back up to
17. As for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help.
Our eyes have yet for our vain help for what?
In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
And they sitting up here watching for a nation that could not save them. The same thing that they did in Lamentations, they doing back in Samuel days. And they also did in Samuel days, Lamentation days, and all through, if you really want to say, I can find many more stories. They're doing that right now in present 2021. There are no new things under the sun. We're priests and prophets from our spirit has been put back in the earth to even witness this. You know, we're sitting up here telling you what our forefathers have done. We have read that for me again, Baba Kusha, verse 17.
As for us,
our
eyes as yet failed for our vain help.
Failed for our vain help, man. Vain means, you wasted your time there. But go ahead.
In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
That could not save us, man. Could not save you if they wanted to. If they could say, look, could they save George Floyd when he was on that ground? Could they? Why did that man do that? I mean, this guy in the court trial right now, but that nation doesn't care about you. That's why. The nation doesn't care about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Look at our Hispanic brothers on the border right now. There was room for, I think it was 350, and they got 5,000? I can't remember what it was. They ain't got room. They got to pull out plastic blankets and stuff like that. Listen, we got some real problems, especially down in Guatemala. Those are our people too. The people come across the border, and then you got if people like Donald Trump say, send them back home and all. You got Joe Biden doesn't care about them, and even wicked Joe Biden would go and release the same thing. Let's see, he would go and nation that could not save us. These are the laws that these people do. Just give me a little understanding. But go and release and tell people, get on the press. Yeah, our women can play on the men's basketball team. When the men say, "Well, we can play on the women's," they can be wrestlers. Now that's about as gay as a 23-cent bill. You don't do stuff. That's just wicked to say a woman is not a man and a man is not a woman. A woman is a woman, and a man, they don't have the same strength like that. And then what's your daughter? But this is what Joe Biden. I don't want to get off the track here, but this is what Joe Biden is proposing and is proposing. We're gonna let them we're gonna let them participate. This is what you see. The Most High tried to warn us. All Israel. What Israel do? And look, and you got these mayors again. Oh, Joe Biden, man. Let me read again. Let me read this. I can't believe what I was hearing. Michael Mayor Butler said, "We need someone to take us through the Red Sea." Now, everybody know Moses was our Red Sea leader, man. He took us through the Red Sea. The Most High allowed him to do that for us. But he said, Mayor Michael Butler said, Joe Biden can do this. Now, that's blasphemy, man. It's sitting up here. Well, I ain't gonna say it really blasphemy, but it's blasphemous for him to say. It's wicked. It's abominable for him to say, well, I'm just gonna take and the things that the Lord appointed for Moses to do. I'm gonna say this Edomite. We all know. Well, we're talking about this devil can sit up here and run the nation through the Red Sea, run us through the Red Sea and take blacks and put them on a whole other perspective. And you sitting up here waiting for your stimulus check and all of these things that Joe Biden is trying to promise you, even all the way back to George Bush for the first $600. A nation that can't save us. They done ran out of money. They just printing. That's all it is. The nation ain't built on gold. It has been gone a long time ago. These nations can't save us. And read that for me again, Baba Shaw. Verse, where were we at? The nation that could not save us. Read that again for me.
As for us,
right,
our eyes as yet fell for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation
that could not save us. The nation cannot save us, man. It can't push. It can't help you. All you can do is be more and more destroyed. I remember we thought our vote could help us back in the days. Surely something. We're trying to find some semblance of light to help us down here, and all we got to do. So what do we need to do down here? Well, before we say that, back in the days, they would say, "Now go vote. You have a right. You died for the right to vote." And when you get down there, I remember back in the old days, my grandma said, I said, "What's wrong, Grandma?" She'd say, "I tried to vote." I said, "Well, why didn't you?" She said, "Because they wanted her to count jelly beans in the jar before to qualify." Came back down and she just take a guess. How do they know anyway? So take a guess. Went back down there. Well, how many leaders do you have elected in Florida for the Congress? The Congress. How many senators, in Florida? She didn't know that answer. All the lady just wanted to do is vote. But this is the qualification that they tried to put on us. A nation that can't save us. This nation want to take your money, kill your sons, marry off your daughters to Edomites. We're destroyed, man. We're destroyed. Go back to 1 Samuel. Let's finish reading up on there. Let's see how much time we got here. Let me see here. What was that? 1 Samuel what?
1 Samuel 18, I believe.
Yeah, read that, and we're going to finish it out here.
And you shall cry out in that day.
Cry out in that day. Go ahead.
Because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you.
Now who doing this choosing? They doing it, right? They're gonna cry out, but keep going.
And the Lord will not hear you in that
Most
day.
High said, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You chosen, and Most High, sometime you better be careful. The Most High give you what you wanted. Because Samuel said, look, it's gonna look nice. It's gonna look like what you think it is, but the end of it is Most High said, the Most High said, look here, what Samuel was saying that the Most High said through him, he was saying, look here, you ain't gonna like this. And it's showing him all of the ranking order and stuff, but it actually was a setup. It would be not necessarily a setup. It would be not what the Most High appointed. I guess that's what I'm saying. He didn't appoint it that way. You have to be in righteous right and rank and order under Commander General Yohana and the ISUPK to even understand this, to be able to read the Bible and the Apocrypha, to read the Bible and the Apocrypha, because this Bible is supposed to be inside of here. It's separated right here, over here, but it's actually part of the King James Version of the Bible since 1611. But the Most High, inside of it embodies the law, statutes, and commandments. Finish reading. That's what we need to come back to. Finish reading there. Baba Kashah.
And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
Right.
Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel.
Okay, finish reading.
And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us.
We're going to have a king over us anyway. This is what we wanted. We wanted a king. Been sitting up here watching all the nations. And they knew too. They knew by watching these other nations saying, man, I like what they got here. And it said, Sam said, don't you understand? Finish reading.
That they also may be like all the nations.
Say that again.
That we also may be like all the nations.
All the nations. Want to be like all the nations. And that's in our camp. We want to be like America. We live here, but we're not supposed to be like America. The Bible says separate. The word is badalka, or badal. You should separate from America or from your oppressor. Nagash, I believe, is what it is. Finish reading.
And that our king may judge us.
Right.
And go out before us and fight our battles.
Right. What verse was that you was reading there?
That was verse 20.
Verse 20. Give me, where were you at there?
1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 20.
Okay, read that again, I'm sorry. That they what?
That we also may be like all the nations.
All the nations, right.
And that our king may judge us.
Right.
And go out before us. And fight our battles.
And this is what they wanted. They don't realize that the President of the United States acting like all the nations around him, the Edomites. See, these same Edomites from Rome and all these other places are the same ones that we're dealing with Joe Biden right now. These are the nations, all Edom. These are the nations that was around about us. And they think that our king may judge us. Yeah, he going to judge us, all right. When you go to his land, he going to give you just us. When you go to his court system, he's going to give you just us, not justice. You're going to get just us, man. That's it. That's all there. A jury of your peers, are you kidding me? When they can go there and put a little boy, 15 years old, and put him on death row for 18 years, you call that justice? This is what you wanted, huh? This is what we're reading. So finish reading there. Verse 21.
And Samuel heard all the words of the people. And he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord.
Now, what does that mean? What's he saying? Go ahead.
He pretty much like Moses did. He told the people told the Most High what the people said. Right,
and he rehearsed them in the ears, meaning that he simply he spoke them. He just basically said. He to hear. They rehearsed. And then Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears. In other words, he just told them. Just like you said, he just basically told them, all right, this whole thing is a rehearsal. This is what you want, because this is what you're getting ready to ask for. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. And read verse 22. Read verse 22.
And the Lord said to Samuel, hearken.
There's
unto
that
their
word
voice,
again. Hearken, to listen, to obey. I mean, to hearken, or just plain old listen. Go ahead, finish.
and make them a king.
Start from the top again, Bob Shop. Sorry.
And the Lord said to Samuel, hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city.
Yeah, Lord, have mercy. He said, and the Lord said to Samuel, the Most High said to Samuel, now he's talking to Samuel, a judge of Israel, whose son had done messed up. You know, they doing stealing. In other words, he said in verse 22 here, 1 Samuel 8:22, and the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto their voice. In other words, listen to them. You know, go ahead, do what they say. Do this what they say. And make them a king. Now that had to be disheartening for Samuel. Make them a king. This is what they wanted. Make them a president. This is what he's saying. Make them a king, you know. Make them somebody, you know. Hey, listen. The Most High wanted us to have equity in the land, judges in the land, and do what's so that you can obey the law, statutes, and commandments. A judge understands that. He can go. He can decide, because what is he deciding on? And instead is deciding on all of the wicked laws of the land of the other nations around him. In this case, America, they're around us. We're in captivity. What's around us? What do we got out here but wicked captivity? Instead of listening to all the kings and all their voting system and everything they want, Samuel said, look here, the Most High said, hearken unto their voice. And go ahead, make them a king. Make that king. That's what they wanted. Make it to them. You know, go ahead. Give it to them. Let them go with they branches. Instead, because these kings out here gonna try to make their system look like ours, but they don't. Oh, thou shalt not kill. Not knowing the Bible says thou shalt not murder when it's saying that. If somebody come up to you, and I'm not advocating killing anybody at all, just make you understand that, because Akshapar is not saying that in ISUPK. That's not what I'm saying. But you have a right to defend yourself. That's not murder. You have a right to defend yourself in your home. That's not murder. But to see all these laws that they have out here, man, they'll kill us on the street. Even the police have I think it was a diplomatic immunity that I think I read before we go here. It said that the police no longer have the diplomatic immunity. They can be sued like anybody else. Okay? In other words, that's what's going on. They no longer have that. But will that help us? Just for some money, they still gonna hunt our steps in the street. They still gonna kill us. They still going to allow our children to die on the street. They're still gonna allow wicked policies to be pushed against us. Israel. So what's the answer and conclusion for all of this? What should we be doing as Israel? Go ahead, Trooper.
Hearken unto the voice of the Most High.
And do what?
And obey his law, statutes, and commandments.
Clap it up for them. Clap it up for them. Hearken to the voice of the Most High and obey his law, statutes, and commandments. With that, we'll end the class like this, and I'll read some announcements. Okay? The security announcements. We are the ISUPK, start off 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for the new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she may get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21. See, this is from our laws, okay? Malachi 3, 8, and 10 means 10th in Hebrew, my Asherah. We'll discuss that on Friday, what Asherah means. 10% of every penny of increase of the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. It's priest fund. It's a free will offering for the priest, not mandatory, whatever amount you would like to give. We have upholding convocations, and the whole upholding convocation that we have, is the Passovers in Houston, Texas. Govern yourself accordingly. If you don't know, ask one of these priests, ask one of these officers, ask your camp leader, and govern yourself accordingly, okay? The Passover, the 14th day of the first month, Saturday, April 24, 2021. Exodus 12, 151. Leviticus 23, 4 and 5. 1 Corinthians 5, 7 and 8. 2 Corinthians 30 and 17. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, and headband, and scarf. And it's all the sisters alike. If you want to be a sister in the school, get your name and do your 90 days and then come to the school of ISUPK so you can have an understanding so the Most High can save you and salvage you from this world out here, destruction, where we're trying to choose other nations. So we give a courtesy salute. I'm sorry, before we do that, we'll stand, trooper. Mab Shabbat, Magda, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Brakatah. Give a salute to the women. Mab Shabbat, Magda, Yahweh Shamar, Alathan, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. For that we say, let's clap it up for the class. For that we say, Shalom.